Maxx Crosby trade rumors are literally everywhere. I've been getting asked, Mitch, is Maxx getting traded here? Is Maxx getting traded here? No, Maxx Crosby isn't getting traded anywhere. And coming up here on today's show, I am going to list all of the reasons why it's never going to happen. The bottom line is this: the reason why people are even talking about the idea around Maxx Crosby getting traded, the first reason is Davante Adams was just traded. But for anybody that actually follows the silver and black, anybody that actually follows this team knows Maxx Crosby, in terms of where he is respected and in regards to Mark Davis, is here. Davante Adams, you can't even see him up on the floor. Are the Raiders probably going to be trade deadline sellers? Yeah, I know what Antonio Pierce said on Wednesday. AP said that this team's in win now mode, but you're 2-4. It wouldn't shock me if you started moving on from a few players. What about stockpiling picks for a quarterback? I want the Raiders to go get a quarterback, no doubt about it, but that doesn't mean that we're going to move on from the face of our franchise. Does Maxx Crosby have an affordable contract? Yes, he does. He signed that massive extension a few years ago, 4 years, $98 million. But when you really look at the ins and outs of that deal, only 2 years left on that contract, if the Raiders wanted to trade him, which they don't want to trade him, then sure, another team would be able to absorb that contract. And then the other reason why I've seen people being thrown out there was Crosby threatened to be traded before. Maxx did what he felt like he needed to do for the Las Vegas Raiders and said, if you're not going to hire my guy Antonio Pierce, then I would consider playing elsewhere. That's just Maxx having his head coach's back, and Mark Davis knows everything and how important Maxx Crosby is 98 is to this organization. So I want you to hit that subscribe button if you agree with this statement here. Maxx Crosby is never going to get traded away from the Las Vegas Raiders. I promise you guys this, and I know promising that a player's never going to get dealt in today's day and age in the NFL is something that, you really should not do, because everything's on the table. But Maxx Crosby is the definition of what a Raider is. Maxx Crosby is, I guarantee you, if Al Davis were to paint a picture of what a Raiders player is supposed to look like, it looks like this guy right here. Mark Davis knows that. And if you're on board with that, and if you're sick and tired of hearing about those damn trade rumors, subscribe and send this video to everybody out there that's talking about it. I know that people are thinking that he's going to go to the Lions. He grew up a Lions fan. He's not a Lions fan now. He bleeds silver and black. So coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you why the Raiders aren't going to trade Maxx Crosby. The first reason, and maybe the biggest reason out there, is Maxx legitimately wants to be a Raider for life. Maxx is somebody that when you get to know Crosby, and I don't want to sit up here and act like we're buddy-buddy, but we are friends, we are acquaintances. Crosby got a tattoo of the Raiders on his body. For anybody that doesn't know Maxx, and anybody thinks that he's just putting random tattoos on his body, doesn't know Crosby at all. The tattoos that Maxx has on his body speak volumes to what it means to him personally. He's battled a lot of obstacles that some people know, some people do not know. But those tattoos on his body are a very powerful message, and the Raiders tattoo on the body should not be undermined. I know Jacobs had it too, but again, Jacobs and Maxx Crosby are built from a different cloth. I know that Maxx bleeds silver and black, and earlier this week, he said that I don't bleed blue and silver because everybody thinks that he's going to go to the Detroit Lions. It's not going to happen. And Maxx has told me personally multiple times. For those that don't watch the show very often, I'm kind of known as the rumor guy, and I'm not afraid to talk about rumors, right? And a lot of people get upset with me how often I sometimes talk about rumors. So how about this? Coming from the rumors guy, coming from the guy that would usually make some videos about this, but I'm going to sit up here and tell you how ludicrous, how far-fetched the idea is, because Maxx Crosby is not going to get traded. And if you know that 98's going to be a Raider for life, I want you to spam those 98s down below, because even Maxx is sick and tired of hearing about all these trade rumors. Does Maxx want to win games? Of course he does, but he wants to do it here with the silver and black. Let's go to the next reason here why Maxx Crosby is not going to get traded. His relationship with Mark Davis. And I'll tell you about Madd Maxx's relationship with Mr. Davis. But you know what? I want to tell you about my relationship with my dog Chuck, because I know Max and Mark are close, but my dog Chuck, dude, I mean, that guy's basically, that's my kid right there. And I don't know if Alex gave birth, but I quite frankly, that's how I feel with my dog Chuck. And I got to give a shout out to our sponsor here, Ollie, because I trust Ollie with Chuck. Therefore, I hope the nation trusts Ollie with their dog. Ollie, clean, fresh nutrition for your dog. Right now, Ollie is offering a fantastic deal to let your pup taste test a personalized meal plan. Get 60% off your first box of meals when you use promo code ChatSports at Ollie.com. And 5 flavors that they're absolutely going to love. You don't have to be a vet to know that feeding your dog real whole food with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. A perfectly portioned whole fresh food diet has been proven to extend your pup's life by 2.5 years. Who doesn't want more time with their best friend? With no harmful fillers, no preservatives, Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. Now, maybe some people are watching this show for the first time, and I don't know how many people know my dog Chuck, but Chuck's my dude. And anybody that follows me on social media knows I'm that proud dog dad. I'm that dog dad where if Chuck wants to lick me after licking his balls, that might be too far. If Chuck wants to lick my face after eating a little bit of Ollie food, I'm okay with it. This picture here, I probably didn't give Chuck Ollie food. I don't even know what I was feeding him at this time. But my point is, if I trust Ollie with Chuck, I hope that everybody watching this show, real talk, is like, all right, if Mitch trusts Ollie for his dog, then I'm going to trust it with mine. So head to Ollie.com, tell them all about your dog, use promo code ChatSports, and you're going to get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. Head to OLLIE.com and enter code ChatSports to get 60% off your first box. They'll offer a clean bowl guaranteed on their first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you can get your money back. The first food that I gave Chuck recently is the picture that you're about to see here, the turkey dish with blueberries. My dog's the type of dog where I'll put food in his bowl, and he might not eat it right away. Chuck, there's sometimes he'll graze, he'll come back to it, which kind of makes it difficult from a bathroom schedule, and I'm a busy guy. Chuck ate this one sitting, absolutely crushed it. So please show some love to our sponsor, Ollie.com, code ChatSports. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. What a good boy. Let's go to Mark Davis here on the Crosby trade rumors. It's unfortunate today, but there's so much outside chatter that it is not true. It's not coming from any sources. It's not coming from anything. My basic thing, never to answer all this stuff, because otherwise you get trapped in this black hole. It's just not happening. I mean, that's Mark Davis telling you. It's just not happening. But on top of that, and I know that a lot of times people don't know the relationships between players, coaches, players, owners, and I know that the national media doesn't, but that's why you subscribe to the Raiders Report. That's why you should watch Raiders content creators. We run laps around these guys from ESPN because they don't know the ins and outs of this team. I cover this team every single day, and I've covered this team every single day for 5 years. Max and Mark are actually very good friends. Like, they hang out outside of work. They hang out, they go get cigars. They hang out, they do a lot of things that's not Raiders related. For you to be able to hang out with your employer, for you to be able to hang out with your boss, that tells me that you're good friends. They hang out on a regular basis. And I also know this, it is one of the best owner-player relationships, not just in the NFL, in all of sports. Let's go to another reason here why Maxx Crosby ain't getting traded. Mark Davis cares about the moolah. You can say Mark doesn't care about winning. You can say Mark doesn't care about Oakland. You can say he don't care about Raider Nation. You could say a lot of things about Mark Davis. If there's one thing you can't say, it's that Mark doesn't care about business. Mark cares about money. And I promise you this, if the Raiders trade away Maxx Crosby, Mark's going to lose loyal fans. And that's coming from me, who's like, hey, you can't ever go away from the nation. It's Raider Nation till I die. Mark Davis will lose some fans because Mark doesn't have the respect that his dad has, and he's going to lose millions upon millions of dollars. I have had thousands of Raiders fans tell me if they ever traded away Maxx Crosby, they wouldn't go to games anymore. They would sell their tickets. They would sell their jerseys. The Raiders have been bad for so long under Mark, and this, I'm telling you, could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. In terms of trades recently, when the Raiders moved on from Derek Carr, it hurt this much. When the Raiders traded away Khalil Mack, I'll probably say it hurt about that much. When the Raiders traded away Davante Adams, this much. If the Raiders were to trade away Maxx Crosby, watch this. That's how high it would be. Fans would have an absolute freaking meltdown. So be honest with me. If the Raiders traded Maxx Crosby, what would you do? And I want you to be honest with me down in the comments. And I'm going to tell you what I would do after this YouTube ad break. I would sit up here on this show and I would beg and plead for the entire nation to help me start a GoFundMe so Mark Davis sells the team. And I don't know if we'd ever be able to make that much money. And Mark's probably never going to do it because the Raiders are making some money. But I would sit up here and I would tell people, don't go to Raiders games anymore. Mark Davis doesn't care about you. Mark Davis doesn't care about his players. Mark Davis cares only about himself and putting some green in his pocket. So how do we piss him off a little bit? Stop giving him that green. Stop going to Raiders games. That's what I would do. As loud as I was for fire Josh McDaniels, as loud as I am right now for fire Luke Getsy, that is a whisper of how loud I would be if the Raiders ever traded away Maxx Crosby. Let's go to another reason here of why it's not going to happen. The trade cost would be too high. I think when you see a lot of people that create a lot of other content out there for these other NFL teams, a lot of times they're like, oh, it's probably just going to cost a first and this, a second and this. I'm telling you this, the conversation doesn't even get started unless it is begun with 3 first-round picks and 2 legit starting caliber players. Like, I'm not saying like a Divine Diablo and right now an Isaiah Paul-Out. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking about a Christian Wilkins and a Jacoby Myers level of a player. Somebody that has a chance to maybe even be a Pro Bowler. This is the start. I actually don't even know if that's going to be enough to get it done. But the crazy part of that is there's not an NFL team alive that's going to offer the Raiders this much. So if you know that the middle is never going to get reached, why are we even talking about a trade? If you were to offer the Raiders 5 first-round picks, sure. But there's not a single NFL team in the world that's going to offer the Raiders 5 first-round picks. Maxx Crosby is going to be a Raider for life. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee he's not leaving. The final reason is this. Part ownership after his career. I don't know whether or not Maxx has goals after his NFL career to be an owner or not, but based on what I do know is if Maxx stays a Raider for his entire career, Maxx Crosby's going to have an opportunity to be a part-time owner of an NFL franchise, of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders just gave 5% to Tom Brady. The Raiders just gave 0.5% to Richard Seymour. And I promise you this, if Maxx Crosby is a member of this team for his entirety of his career and retires with the silver and black, Maxx Crosby also will be a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. For all those reasons, Maxx Crosby is not getting traded.